So since IPv6 has been deployed since 1999 and IPv4 still exists, we need to talk about the transition from IPv4 to IPv6 and how that works. So natively, IPv6 is not backwards compatible with IP version 4. So to aid with the transition from IPv4 to IPv6, there are technologies that have been developed such as dual stack implementations and tunneling, and we're going to talk about that in this lecture. So let's talk about how this works, how this coexistence compatibility works with IPv4 and IPv6. So we've already talked about a dual stack configuration, specifically a dual IP stack. When we talk about a dual stack configuration, we're talking about when we have IPv4 and IPv6 protocols coexisting within an operating system. And with Windows 10, if you do an IP config, you should notice that you have an IPv4 and an IPv6 address because by default, it's configured for a dual IP stack. So when we have this set up, however, it doesn't mean that we're utilizing both IPv4 and IPv6. Your router in your home could only be utilizing one or the other. So just because you have a dual IP stack configuration doesn't mean that you're utilizing both of them or one or the other. It's all based upon your networking equipment. And in my home, I'm only using IPv4. Now, in addition to our dual stack configuration, there are multiple different tunneling protocols where we can encapsulate IPv4 into IPv6 and vice versa. There is 4 to 6, 6 and 4, Toretto, and Marito, and we're going to take a look at those on the next slide. And I'm going to talk about why those are important. So let's go ahead and let's talk about them first. So 4 to 6 is when we encapsulate IPv4 into an IP version 6 tunnel. And 6 and 4 is going to be the exact opposite. It's when we encapsulate IPv6 data into an IPv4 tunnel, so we can traverse IPv4 version NAT. Now, in terms of Toretto and Marito, Toretto is a Microsoft Windows-based IPv6 tunneling protocol that's very similar to 6 and 4, and it supports NAT. Marito is a Linux and Unix-based one that is their open source version of Toretto. Now, let's talk about why these are important. So if you take a look at the diagram down here in green, we support both IPv6 and IPv4. But between both of these networks, so we'll go ahead and we'll just call this our LAN number 1. And we'll call this LAN number 2. And then in between, we'll just call this our wide area network. We'll just make sure that we consider this a wide area network link. Well, within both of these local area networks, we support both version 4 and version 6 of the IP protocol. But with our wide area network link, we may run into a situation where it only supports IPv4 or IPv6. So based upon what it supports, you need to utilize one of these protocols up here that allows us to have that coexistence of IPv4 and IPv6. Because if you think about a realistic implementation of a network or a network connecting to another network, you're going to see issues like this. And that's where these tunneling protocols come into play. So that's the importance of having 4 to 6, 6 and 4, Toretto, and Marito. They allow us to utilize multiple different networks, even though certain networks may only support IPv4 or IPv6. So anyways, that's going to conclude this lecture. If you have any questions, please let me know. If not, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.